Solving two-step equations. Gentlemen, focus, please. Solving two-step equations. So, again, we have two steps, and it's an equation. So to do a two-step equation, we're going to use, again, inverse operations, just like yesterday. Just like yesterday, we have to apply our knowledge of inverse operations. And inverse operations are operations that undo, right? They undo stuff. If you've got a problem, and in that problem it has addition, what are you going to do to undo the addition? Subtract. Subtract. If you've got a problem, and in that problem there's subtraction, what are you going to do to undo that subtraction? Add. If you've got a problem, and in that problem it says to multiply, how do you undo that multiply? Divide. And if in that problem it says to divide, to undo that, what are you going to do? Multiply. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember to do these following things. Please remember. Just what we did yesterday. Draw a line down the equal sign. Number 2, circle the constant. Circle the constant. How do you know if something is a constant? Morgan? It's the number without the variable. And box or square, draw a square around. We say box because sometimes squared means something specific in math. The coefficient. And how do you know something's a coefficient? It's touching a variable, right? Now it's specific because sometimes it maybe isn't in front of it, but it's touching it some way. So let's start off with an easy one. 3n minus 6 equals 15. 3n minus 6 equals 15. Three n minus 6 equals 15. What's step number 1? Oh, Lillian, what is it? Draw a line down the equal sign. This is going to keep us organized. Years of experience tell me that middle schoolers need to be organized. I know, right? Okay, step number 2, BB, what is that? Circle the constant. So looking at that problem, what's the constant? Negative 6. So I circle negative 6 or minus 6. The whole thing. Don't forget. What's step number 3? Riley? Box the coefficient. So what's my coefficient? Morgan? 3. I guess I should have then said solve, right? Use inverse operations. So here we go. We're going to use inverse operations. Ladies and gentlemen, always, every single time, you are going to move the constant first. You are going to move the constant first. And the constant is what? The constant is negative 6. Or you could say that the constant is minus 6. Both are the same, correct? Negative 6 and minus 6 are the same thing. What's the opposite? What? Adding, plus 6. The opposite of negative 6 is positive 6. The opposite of minus 6 is plus 6. If I do it to one side of the line, I have to do it to the other side of the line. Did anything happen to my 3n? Bring it down, 3n. What happened to my 6's? They cancel out. Why? Because they're opposite. Yeah, it's 0. They disappear. If Morgan owes me $6, but I owe her $6, right? If she owes me $6 and I pay her $6, right? Like, that cancels out, right? Negative and positive, it's the same thing. 15 plus 6 is what? $21. But I'm not done because is my variable by itself yet? No. I still have a coefficient. Right? So now I do the inverse operation. 3n means 3 times n, so I'm dividing by 3. So n equals, because 21 divided by 3 is 7, and 3 divided by 3 cancels out. And because algebra is so great, if you take your calculator, you can guarantee that you have the right answer. I go back up to my original problem. 3 times n. What's my n value? 7. So 3 times 7. No. Minus 6. Equals 15. I did it right. Good to go. Let's try another one. Too bad. T over 4 minus 10 equals negative 6. Draw your line down the equal sign and circle and draw a square. What should I circle? John, sit up, please. What do I circle, BB? Negative 10, minus 10. That's my constant. It does not have a variable. What do I draw a square around? What do I box? What touches? Not necessarily is in front of, but touches the variable, Max. What? 4. Now let's start using inverse operations. I've got 2 numbers that need to move away from the variable. Which one do I move first? The negative 10. Move the constant, the lonely number first. Plus 10. Plus 10, because that's the opposite, correct? Does this t divided by 4 change? It's the same thing, t divided by 4. Nothing happened to it. What happens to my 10s? They're inverses, they cancel out. What's negative $6 plus $10? Positive? Good. But t's not by itself yet. That's a constant. No, that's a coefficient. So I have to get rid of that coefficient. How do you get rid of that 4? What's the inverse? What operation is being done to the t? T what for? Morgan? So in this problem, what does this mean? T over 4, what does that mean? That means t divided by 4. So what's the opposite of dividing? Multiply by 4. Multiply by 4. Four divided by 4 cancels out, right? So I'm left with t equals, what's 4 times 4? T equals 16. Let's check it in our calculator. It's not us. Let's check it. T divided by 4. So that means 16 divided by 4 minus 10. Does it equal -6? So I did it right. My answer is correct. One more. 18 minus 3x equals 20. 18 minus 3x equals 20. John, write this down, please. This one's flip-flop, so don't get confused. Take your time and think of the rules. Circle the constant. What's the constant? Positive 18. What's the coefficient? -3. Good. We move the constant first. We move the constant first. What's the opposite or inverse of 18? -18 to both sides. What's left over on the left side? -3x, because 18 and 18 cancel out. So I'm just left with -3x, and that -3 is my constant. Equals, what's 20 minus 18? 2. Positive 2, good. X is still not alone. It's got that -3 with it. What is the operation on that side? Grayson, pay attention, please. What's the operation, Alyssa? I'm going to divide because -3 times X. I'm going to divide by -3. Divide by -3. Caden, stop. Nicholas, stop. -3 divided by 3 cancels out. X equals, what's 2 divided by -3? Nope. Use a calculator.
-6 repeating. -6.
Autumn, what is it? Negative what? Thank you. 0.6 repeating. We can check it in our calculator. Well, we're estimating, right? This isn't an exact answer. So I'm going to type in 18 minus 3 times negative 0.6, and I'm going to put in a bunch of 6s. Obviously, I can't do it because it goes on forever. And then I'm going to press enter. And because I put in so many, it's a repeating decimal, it equals 20. The calculator knows that I meant to make it 6 forever. So sometimes you get decimal answers. That's okay. Sometimes you get pretty whole number answers.